Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page where I do this daily live stream show all about the divination card or the oracle card that I draw in the morning. It gives us the information about the energy that's flowing that's most important for us to know about today. And it also sparks a spiritual conversation here in the chat room, and so I welcome you. It is Friday, March 15th, the Ides of March, right? Yeah, and it is a sunny day here. It wasn't supposed to be. We're supposed to have cloudy skies all day, but that's not what's happening. We have bright sunshine out there. And it's a little bit colder than it has been. Yesterday we had like 53 degrees. Can you believe that? But today our high, I think, is 35 or 36, something like that. Yeah. It's all right, though. You know, it's still spring. George. He likes the stones and rocks. And I have some a little bit too close to his level. So no, those aren't yours, baby. Okay. All right. Okay. So what I'm going before we get rolling too far down the road here, I'm going to like and share the live stream. There we go. And I invite you to do the same. Yeah. Let's see. We're going to write it and we're going to put it on my my news feed. And I'm just going to say, hey, friends. I'm live streaming. And I'm asking them to please join. There we go. Oops. There we go. There. And I think I'm going to send it over to one of the other groups that we have and share it to the Academy, I believe. And just letting them know I'm live streaming. And to please join. There we go. And we're going to send it over to the Academy. And yeah, I think the other one should be playing already. So that's what we're going to do. There. Excellent. It doesn't take that long. And it's kind of nice to be able to share it out there, even if it's just to one person. You know, it's, I call it a light worker or energy worker civic duty, sort of. Anytime we find a video or a post that we really, really like and that it helps us on our soul's journey, our soul's growth, or maybe it's something that we've studied or that we truly believe in, right? And so we share it and hopefully we'll help somebody else. That's the premise behind it anyway. All right. And it also puts us in the newsfeed a little bit more often. So those souls that are looking for this kind of information, these kind of shows, it's easier for them to find it, right? Yeah. And Julie Shumway Hill is with us. Hey, Julie. Good to see you in the chat. Good to see you in the chat. You know, today is Friday, right? And I began my week with talking to one of our soon-to-be authors. We're publishing a children's book, hopefully at the end of the month, and you'll hear more about it in really, really shortly. We're just waiting on a couple of items to pull it all together and let you guys know about it, so you can actually see some of the information about it. It's called The Sound Weavers, and it's by Madonna De Palo. And it's all about whales and dolphins. And it's a gorgeous book. The artwork is done by one of my sisters, Christine Pollock. And I started my week out with a telephone call talking about her book and the launch and all of that on Monday with Madonna. And today we're finishing up the week with another meeting, this time a Skype meeting with our second new author that we're going to be publishing later in the fall, probably around September. And yeah, that's Ortrune Franklin. Yeah, we're pulling together her book. We're in the very early stages of it, and it's all about her experience with the Egyptian mysteries. And I can't wait to really start working on it and pulling together all of the artwork for it. It's going to be fun, 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 fun. So this week has really been all about the publishing end of Star Nations. Yeah, and working on the magazine still, not necessarily on the March issue because that was published on the 10th, but other things that we have going on with the magazine. So it's been a busy week. It always is. But, this week was all about the publishing piece. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to double check here. And Rochelle's here too. She says, hello, Neshi. Hello, Rochelle. Grounded and shared, Ides of March be upon you. Now, the very little I know about the Ides of March is, wasn't that when Caesar, wasn't it Caesar that got stabbed on the steps of the Roman Senate? And it's supposed to be a day where you're supposed to really be aware of your surroundings, I suppose. I think that's what that's about. I don't know. Julie Shumway Hill's really good at trivia kind of stuff. So I don't know. How was I close? Was I close, Julie? And Lynn Marie's here too. Hello, Lynn Marie. Good to see you in the chat. Love those icons, those emoticons. So today, the card draw today, it's really very interesting, the combination that we have today, because I had to sit back and go, huh? What? How is this supposed to go together? So it'll be interesting to see how Spirit weaves this together for us, because every morning I draw a divination card or an oracle card, and the intention is that to show us the energy that's flowing that day, today, for our highest good and for the highest good of all, and specifically for our soul growth, right? And that we can share with others. That's the intention. And for those who might be watching for the first time, whether it's live or you're watching the recorded, this is the cards that we're using, the Druid Animal Oracle by Stephanie and Philip Cargome and illustrated by Bill Worthington. Yeah, we started this new book, this new deck, I should say, on February 1st. So we've been using it for about, 6 weeks? About. And we're still going strong with it. But we got a card today that we haven't had before. And that's Goose. This is who came to visit today, Goose. You can see some flying up in the sky there. In that kind of blue sky, huh? Blue sky with some white clouds. And if you notice the trees are actually have leaves on them. Many of the cards in this deck, the trees don't have leaves on them. And there's the goose with the gander. Yeah. Kind of an interesting card. The goose and the gander. And we've got some plants in the foreground there. I didn't see any carvings, though, on this one. I don't see any carvings. I don't see any carvings in this card. Many of the cards have the Ogham language, the Druid written language, but this one doesn't. Goose. Yeah. Many times what I do is I take a look at the card first, and I really take it in, right? And think about, what do I know about this particular animal before I even open up the book to see what the author has to say. And in this book, I've got books on my mind today, on this card with the goose. So the little that I know about geese in general, right? In general, not what kind specifically, but geese in general, is that I know that they're really protective. They're very protective. They're better than, if you want protection outside, they're better than having a dog. Really, they're very territorial, and they protect their young almost as much as a mother bear would. Yeah, they're very territorial, and they'll chase you. Their bite is not pleasant. They don't have teeth, but that's pretty snappy. Now I've never been bit, but I've watched somebody be bit, and so they'll chase you. They'll chase you until you're out of their territory. Yeah, and here in the United States, and in the some of the indigenous people here, geese stands for or symbolizes community, because they're always flocked together, and when they travel, when they fly, and they fly long distances. When they fly together, they have a way of being aerodynamic, right? And so that V that they fly in is more than just something nice to look at. Really, is that and the lead goose, who's cutting the wind, right, for them, then it definitely flows around them, so it's much easier to fly. That's why they can fly such long distances. And when that lead goose starts to get tired, fatigued, it will drop back, and the next goose will come up to take the lead. And so when that goose gets tired, that goose drops back, and the next one takes the lead. And so that's why they can fly such long distances, is because they share the responsibility. They share the workload. They work as a team together to get from one place to another. Yeah. Yep. Oh, Rochelle says Julius Caesar was killed on this day. Yeah, on the steps of the Senate. Yep, he was murdered. Hey, Julie Hedges is here. Good day. It sounds like we're from down under, from Australia. Yeah, good day to all. Good to have you here, Julie. And this is the first card that came. She just popped in. This is Goose. And so there's a female goose, and the gander is in the water. And so here we go again, right? Water. I think all of the cards have water in them because they're probably depicting the 4 elements in each card. Yep, the Ides of March. We were just talking about that. What I said, Julie, is that I said what little I know about the meaning of Ides of March is that Julius Caesar was stabbed on the steps of the Roman Senate in the Ides of March, right? In other words, be careful. Know your surroundings. Mm-hmm. And Rochelle is saying, when I see a flock of geese landing on my river, it looks like a 747 landing. Oh, I bet. And when they land, I love watching them when they land because they do this flipping over. They flip over and they flip back. And that's kind of to take down their speed, right? And as they're coming in for the landing, you can see them flipping. Yeah. Kind of cool. I like watching them do that. Where I used to live, down south of here, about an hour and a half or so, Poynette. There was another town between us and Madison, Arlington. And Arlington is a significant place. It's a tiny, tiny little town, but it's significant because it is in that particular area that here in Wisconsin is the beginning of the Great Plains. Yeah, where in that area, that's the transition place. It went from an oak savanna, okay, oak trees, bur oak, and then it kind of gently moves into all Great Plains, okay, just the beginnings of it. And it's called the Empire Grasslands or something like that. Empire Prairie is what they're saying, Empire Prairie. And on Empire Prairie, in that very beginning, there's a pond, and it's called Goose Pond. And it is on the migratory path flight. And so there's many, many different kind of birds that come to Goose Pond as a stopover. They stop, they rest, they eat, they drink. It's a place to be able, if you're a bird watcher, that's a great place to be. And all kinds of goose flock in to Goose Pond, and hence its name, right? Because there's a lot of geese that land there. Geese used to be migratory. And I don't know if you guys have noticed. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of geese don't migrate anymore. And why? Us two-leggeds. Us two-leggeds. We like to have ponds that are aerated so they don't freeze over when they should, or they're man-made, right? Man-made ponds. And we also feed them. And so why make a long trip when you can stay home and have everything right at your doorstep practically? And so, yeah, unfortunately, it kind of gets things out of balance a bit. And geese become, for some people, a nuisance. Not for me, but, for some people. Golf places and airports and places like that, a lot of institutional kind of places, they'd rather not have the geese there. And so if they're not migratory, they don't leave, and so you end up with having to deal with geese year round. And unfortunately, up in Canada, the Canadian geese, many of them treat them as a nuisance, and they don't have a limit on how many that can be killed. So, yeah, geese, they're all about community. They're all about community. So that's the little bit that I know about geese. That and people still adhere to a belief to have goose for their Christmas dinner, right? Kind of a holdover from England kind of days. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Gotta check the chat here. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for sharing and loving the live stream. Appreciate it. And she also says, I have so many goose feathers to make a feather smudge wand, all collected from the ground. No goose harmed. Well, good for you. So you might have different sizes, right? Different sizes. So you're going to make a full, you say a wand. Wand. Okay. So you could also make a fan, depending on what kind of size feathers you have. That would really move the smudging smoke around. It would, if you're doing a large space, which wouldn't be such a bad thing, really, because large spaces are usually meant for community gatherings, right? And so goose would definitely be lending its medicine to that gathering, if you had enough in different sizes to make a fan. Yeah. And Lynn says, I live in Arlington, Minnesota. You do? Yeah, I don't know where that is in relationship in Minnesota. Arlington, Wisconsin is, if you know where Madison is by any chance, it's kind of like south central part of the state. And Arlington is northeast by maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, 30 miles, 45 miles, something like that. So it's in the southern part of the state, south central. So here is what the author of the cards that we're using, what he has to say about this. Yep, let me take Lynn's comment down here. There we go. All right. So the words associated with goose. Oh, and by the way, the Gaelic word for goose is I looked it up earlier, but I don't remember what it is. Now, see, I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly. Is Giagh is the phonetic or the approximate pronunciation. So it's Jiga. Giag, maybe. Giag, Giagh, Giag. That's close, maybe. We need somebody here that can actually speak Gaelic. All right, so the words associated with Goose or Geadh is vigilance, parenthood, and productive power. Vigilance, parenthood, and productive power. Now remember that these are coming from the Druid perspective. The Druid perspective. Vigilance, parenthood, and productive power. The card shows a pair of gray log geese in the fens. Ancestor of the farmyard goose, the gray log mates for life and was once the only goose that bred in Britain. It may have earned its name from the observation that it lagged behind when other species migrated, although its name is more likely to mean gray-legged. In the foreground, we see the bramble and the gooseberry growing, with goose grass to the right, and the reed in the background. In the sky, a flock of geese are flying in V formation, heading out towards sea. Heading out towards sea. And for them to head out toward the sea, that means the weather is good. Clear sailing, so to speak. Which reminds me, for those that are in the live chat, if you could let me know of any of the sayings or cliches that have to do with geese or goose. Like your goose is cooked, right? Something like that. Because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So if any of them come to mind, if you wouldn't mind putting them into the comments, because they kind of tell their own story a little bit, about the time frame and how geese were perceived around that time frame. So if you can think of any of those, please put them in the chat. I'm going to get a drink of water here. All right. So the author goes on to say that the card may indicate that you are ready to take on the responsibility of raising a family or of committing yourself to a long-term partnership. Goose brings creative and productive power. It allows you to open to this power, secure in the knowledge that your relationship or family or working partnership will provide a stable environment to act as a crucible to your creativity. I like that. A crucible to your creativity. I like that. It says raising children is one of the most joyful and worthwhile activities we can undertake. And the goose, with its strong attachment to family combined with its ability to fly extraordinarily high from one continent to another, shows us that it's possible to be both grounded and spiritual in our daily lives. So the goose can actually be a symbol of our groundedness to Grandmother Earth and in our spirit and how we live our spiritual life. It's kind of cool. Now, as most of you know, I like to read the card in reverse, although we didn't receive the card in reverse. I like the information because it helps us to see a more fuller picture of the meaning of the card, the essence of the card, so we can really take it in, right? And so if we would have drawn this card in reverse, we could have been overly concerned with our rights, our possessions, and our territory. Okay. Over-possessive would be a good word there, I think. The ancient Celts kept geese for their eggs rather than their flesh. They knew that it was better to keep the goose alive and productive rather than destroying its productive capacity by eating it. They kept sheep in the same way for their wool and their milk rather than their meat. The lesson for us is that if we want to ensure our productive power, our capacity for creativity, we must look after ourselves. To make sure the goose keeps laying the golden eggs, we must keep the goose alive, well fed, well rested, and well exercised. Isn't that funny? So, it also symbolizes, goose symbolizes how well we treat ourselves. I think that's like, I would have never thought of it that way. Okay, Julie, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later. Rochelle says, oh, gooseberry. Yeah, gooseberry. And Julie says, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's a good one. And duck, duck, goose. Yep. There was another one. Of course, the goose that laid the golden egg, right? And I was thinking about there was another one. Because I did think about the goose. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I think I said it already. Your goose is cooked. In other words, you're done. You're done. You've been caught and you're done. Oh, a wild goose chase. They had me on a wild goose chase. That was another one I thought of. Okay. So, he says that the Druids of old were expert in divining the flight of birds. Have you ever thought about using the flight of birds as a divination tool? Well, the Druids did. It says the arrival or departure of migrating geese, for example, would have given warning of a coming of winter or summer, and because of this, the goose has come to symbolize seasonal change. And we still kind of do that, don't we? As soon as we start seeing the geese flying south, it's like, oh, fall is coming. And then winter is right behind, of course. But the first time you see a flock of geese flying south, season's changing, right? So we still use that. Also, the goose is a solar bird. Laying the golden egg becomes a perfect symbol of this solar rebirth, with the mother goose representing the mother goddess. Yeah. But, they also talk about their aggression, right? And that they get very territorial, very possessive over their surroundings, where they live, and their children. And I don't know. I think that there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's in balance, and I guess there's a level of trust there too. And when we're equating that to us two-leggeds, right? When we trust ourselves, that gets sent out to the world around us, and so we're not quite as territorial. But if you don't trust people, if you don't trust very well, then you're always kind of on guard, right? You're always kind of watching. Philip Cargome goes on to say that the goose, with its strong attachment to its family, combined its ability to fly extraordinarily high, is a powerful symbol of the union of heaven and earth, and the way in which we can unite both our spiritual and our everyday concerns. So I would have never thought of goose that way. So this is one of those examples in using a book that is not, or cards that are not necessarily coming from the perspective of the United States, right? Or from even a Native perspective, is that I would have never used goose as a symbol of the connection between heaven and earth, or the connection between our spirit lives, our spirituality, and our everyday life. but it makes sense. It makes sense. Hmm. Okay. So when you first saw this card, looking at the card, what was where were you drawn? What did you see first? What pulled you into the card? What caught your eye? Yeah. For me, it was actually that there were two of them. That there were two. And chances were that they were a male and female. That's what caught my eye. And I have to say that and after going through and reading about this particular goose, what kind of jumped out at me was that, and I think it's because it was brand new information for me, was that goose can symbolize. I want to make sure I get this right. It says that the way that in which we can unite both our spiritual and our everyday concerns, that we can unite the two. And so when we're living our life in a conscious way, right, we're consciously aware that we're spirit having a physical experience, that maybe Goose can actually help us to unite those two things, right? Because when we first start out on our path in that conscious way, first we're very, very excited about finding interesting things about the spirituality, and a lot of times validation, or we find one of our answers, right? And we're very excited about it, and we're talking to a lot of people about it. And then we start recognizing that, wait a minute, not everybody enjoys this, not everybody agrees with me, and then we start pulling back. And sometimes what we do is we end up not really talking about it as openly as we think that we can or should be able to. And we end up kind of separating sometimes our spiritual life from our work life, from our family life, and so rather than bringing it all together into a cohesive unit as a whole being, sometimes what we do is we start separating it out. It's like, at work, I'm this way. With my spiritual friends, I'm this way. With my family at home, or my relatives, my grandparents or my parents, or I'm this way. But we keep them kind of compartmentalized a bit, right? Have you ever done that? I know I did early on. Obviously, people can tell that I'm Native American, right? But talking about some things didn't prove to be healthy. And so, in those early days, it's like, your mom's the word. And especially when you come from a culture that, when I was young, we were told, do not share, any of this with anybody outside the family, anybody else, not Native American. So, you didn't talk about tobacco. You didn't talk about tobacco ceremonies. You didn't talk about anything like that. Just trying to fit in, right? Yeah. Yeah. Rochelle says, all the roles we play. Yeah. Okay. And so Julie is saying that the flower and the berry in the lower left. Oh, so you saw the gooseberry down here. And that's what drew you in. I could see why the flower would, because it's pretty plain picture otherwise. And Rochelle said, I also saw the berry. Uh-huh. The gooseberry. Gooseberry pie. I don't think I've ever had that, gooseberry pie. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever had it. And there's also gooseberry jelly. Paul likes that. My grandfather, my Misho, used to love gooseberry too. Jelly. Of course, it was sweet. He would like anything sweet. And so, when we're looking at what Goose is what message it's trying to bring to us, I really do feel that it has the energy is in the way that we unite our spiritual and our everyday concerns or lives. It's pulling ourselves together. that we're the same expression in all of our environments. Now we may choose to use different kind of vocabulary from one environment to another, kind of speaking their language, so to speak, right? But we're the same spiritual being, fully acknowledging that no matter which environment we're in. Yeah. My spirit guides are funny sometimes. They have quite the sense of humor. As soon as I said that, what they showed me was back in high school, back in the day, and Julie's going to know about this one. Back in the day, this is kind of how, okay, I find that when it takes too much energy to be somebody different for different crowds or different groups of people. And I found that out early on, like I was like in a freshman or sophomore in high school or something like that. And I wasn't a cliquey kind of person. I went from one group to another and really didn't have what you might call full membership in any one of them. But I talked to everybody, right? Some a little bit more easier than others, but I was the same person, no matter which group I was conversing with. Didn't hide much. I mean, the things that I was hiding from everybody. It wasn't like I'd sit down and have a different conversation, sort of with one group over another. I wasn't talking about the ceremonies that I'd gone to. I wasn't talking about powwow dancing. I wasn't talking about tobacco. I wasn't talking about spirits. I wasn't talking about any of that. But here's what my spiritual team was showing me. It's kind of like when I would go out to the parking lot at lunchtime. Okay. Now we had three different lunches, 3 different lunch groups. And in my lunch group, and I think it was the middle one, if I remember right. But anyway, out in the parking lot, the first row were those people who didn't smoke cigarettes. Some of them did, maybe many of them didn't. They're just kind of hanging out by their cars and that kind of thing. And I would stop and talk to them. And the second row were definitely the people smoking cigarettes, because as I'm walking to the second row, getting ready to go to visit in the second row, I'm lighting up my cigarette, right? And I get to the second row and I'm talking to some of the people in the second row. And the third row, that's when you start seeing the joints and that kind of thing, because the pot smokers were in the third row. Okay. Now I didn't smoke pot, but I hung out with them. I talked to them and that kind of stuff. Okay. Had some friends in that group. And then the last row, the fourth row, were those people who maybe were using a bit stronger drug, right? And I didn't do that either, but I was back there talking to them, And then there were those people who were off school grounds. Now, all of that should have been happening off school grounds, but we're talking 1970s, right? The ones with the alcohol was off from the school grounds. And so sometimes all you have to do is walk up a block and there they'd be, right? And so you'd stand there and talk to them. So I was the same person no matter which group I went to go talk to. And so that's what my team was showing me, right? Is that we can be the same in no matter what environment we're going through, that we're visiting, that we're in. And if we need assistance to be that same spiritual being, we can call on the medicine of Goose to help us with that. So if you like talking about spiritual stuff, like ascension, or if you're talking about dreams, or if you're talking about how to use essential oils and, that kind of thing, and you're with family, and sometimes, it's like they're looking at you like, are you kidding me? Kind of look, or they cut you off and they say, I don't want to hear any of that stuff, It's okay. It's okay. Maybe what we need to do is add a little goose medicine in there so that you can express yourself in a way that that you're comfortable with, and yet they're also comfortable. That you're not trying to change them. You're not trying to convert them, but you might have a tip or two, right? Tips that work. And how do you know they work? Is because you've done it. You have experience. So maybe we can call on Goose. And for those of us that are in long-term relationships, or you're heading into a long-term relationship, you can also call on Goose because they mate for life. Yeah, to bring that kind of medicine into your relationship. I kind of like it. Now, here's the kicker. Here is the second card that came. And this is the one that had me going, what? How is that supposed to go together? And we've had this card before. It's the Water Dragon. The Water Dragon. Very primordial, if you remember, rather worm-like, except for the head. The head is kind of, they refer to it as a mountain with eyes that are, the color is deep as lakes, very deep lakes. Now, the Gaelic word for that water dragon, see if I can pronounce this one, Draig-Uisge. Draig-Uisge. Kind of like that one. Draig-Uisge. I like that ushku part. All right. So with the dragon, look at all that water, right? It's all about emotion. Very deep emotion. It's about passion, depth, and connection. Passion, depth, and connection. So the water dragon can bring to us, brings that which is hidden into the light of day. Memories and wishes which may have long lain forgotten or repressed in the unconsciousness may emerge to frighten or overwhelm you with their apparent negativity or destructiveness. Facing these experiences with compassion and courage, that's the key, right? Courage will, in the end, bring you to an experience of a greater depth of soul and a greater sense of connectedness to all life. That you'll be able to achieve a sense of balance and stability as these strong feelings are integrated in your consciousness. So bringing something that's been repressed, usually an emotional one, right? Bringing it to the surface, out of your unconsciousness into the light of day, where you can heal it, release it, and then integrate that wisdom into your being. And so that's why you feel more a sense of balance and stability. You get soul growth for sure out of it, right? And so I think when I'm going to hold the cards up to you in just a second. Just double checking something here. Okay, here the author says, earth and air dragons are usually harmless if not disturbed, and it is rare for the land or sky to present any great threat to us. But the elements of fire and water can indeed be dangerous, and the water dragon can overwhelm us with emotion and drown us in sorrow or self-pity. But if befriended, if related to as an ally rather than an enemy, it can bring passion, compassion, depth of feeling, and a true sense of connection to all of humanity and the world of nature. Okay, keep that in mind. And here, we're going to show the cards together. All right. So sensing, feeling, seeing, the energy that these two cards bring together yeah. And thinking about the goose and how it's the connection between heaven and earth, how it can connect our spiritual lives with our everyday lives. Connection. And that the water dragon also represents connection. It's connecting our emotions. It's connecting, bringing up from the depths of our unconsciousness something that's been hidden for a while. An emotion about a memory. And I think that when we're stable, and we feel that connection that we have between our spiritual lives and our everyday lives, and we feel comfortable with it, we're stronger. There's more self-confidence, right? There's more self-confidence. That when the divine timing is right, those things that we might have repressed in this lifetime, that we feel safe enough for it to come to the surface. We feel stable enough for it to come to the surface, so that we can take that the energy to heal it and to release it, right? And we're probably stronger if we feel that connection, that connection between heaven and earth. It might not be easy, it might be a real challenge, but having the courage to be able to look at it, and to maybe once and for all, to be able to get to the root of something that's been bothering you, that's been a block or an interference to your soul growth. So, and when I think about it that way, when I was looking at these two, it's interesting. Either way you hold these, I was trying to get them to see if they could look at each other, and you can't. One would have to be inverted in order for that to happen. But they're looking in the same direction. They're not looking in opposite directions, they're looking in the same direction. So when we have that stability that Goose can give us, that connection between our spiritual selves and our everyday self, and we have that cohesiveness, it's together, it's that we can actually sense ourselves as a whole being. That if we have any of those repressed emotions, and from a memory, we're in a better place to be able for that to come to the surface so that we can heal it, so we can let it go. Does that make sense? It certainly does to me, because when I first looked at the two of them, I'm going, without reading anything, it's like, how do you go together? How does the water dragon support the information coming from Goose? That when we're stronger, we can take on that next piece. And then we get time to integrate it, right? Then we have time to integrate. And that is the other thing that the water dragon brings to us, is that the essence of it is to go deep, yes, but also to take your time. Take your time. Go slow, so that you don't overwhelm yourself with the depth of the emotion, the feelings that might go with that repressed situation, and to go slow. And when we're stable, we don't get shocked as much. We don't get knocked off balance as badly. When we're grounded, we're a lot more stable. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about that with these two cards? Yeah, there's water, that's for sure. Huh. It's kind of funny, isn't it? You have a very primordial being with the water dragon, and you have the goose, which is, this particular goose was the only one that was bred in Britain. Huh. Yeah. Well, that's what I got out of those two cards today. Those two, bringing it together. That we have another opportunity, right? We have an opportunity to, if we're not in that position of our spiritual life, connected, united with our everyday life, that we have the possibility of having that. And if we don't have it, then you can call on the spirit or the medicine of the goose to ask for help. And how do I have this happen in my life? I want to have this in my life. How do I get there? Or if you're already there, then how can I best take the opportunity that this offers, right? And that is to be able to heal something that's repressed. Which, a lot of people would say, why would I want to go there? Why would I want to take a look at that again? Why would I want to open that door? Yeah. But that repression is also blocking or interfering with the way you bring in information for your intuition, your clairs. But it may also be blocking or interfering with the use of your gifts. Yeah. It's not that you don't have access to them. It's not that you don't have them, because we all do. It's in the amount that we have them and the ability to use them. Because they're all there. They've always been there. It's our access to them that gets interfered with. Yeah. All right, we're almost near the top of the hour. So we're heading into the weekend. I was just going to let you know about a couple of things that are coming up this coming week for shows. On Monday, we have Paul Krause is back. He's been on hiatus, been going through some stuff like we all do on occasion. And he's back, and he's got, I can't remember the name of his guest, but we'll get that all promoted for him starting this weekend. And yeah, so he's back Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. No, I'm sorry, new time. It's a new time because his interview, I think it's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. 8:30 a.m. Eastern time is Paul Krause's show. And he's making, it's a special time for him because his guest is from India. He's in Japan. It's a very international morning on Monday morning, very early, 8:30. And so we'll get all that promotion out for you. It's going to be a really interesting show, just in that alone. So international, yeah. And yeah, Rochelle is going, wow, I know. And thank you, Rochelle. Thank you. And Marie is saying, thank you for the words again today. Oh, you're welcome, Marie. You're very welcome. What else? I'm trying to remember because I don't have it all written down. And Julie Hedges. Julie Hedges is also Monday night, and her show is 9 p.m. Eastern time, and it's all about animals. It's all about animals. Leslie Serenesi is going to be her guest, and I think I'm going to pop in for a little bit too. And so we'll be talking about animals. Encounters of the Animal Kind. I think that's what her title is. So that's going to be a very interesting show too. And on Tuesday, Polly Joe at noon Eastern time with Chakra Sessions at noon. And then this live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then my weekly show on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. My guest is Madonna De Palo, our upcoming and new author here at Star Nations Publishing. And so I'm going to be interviewing her. So it's a time to be able to meet Madonna. It's all about whales and dolphins with her book. It's a children's book. Yeah. All right. And then on Wednesday is Soul Connections. Yeah, at 7 p.m. I got to get a calendar up. I got to look at something. All right. So Wednesday is Soul Connections, right, with Polly Jolabay at 7 p.m. And you know what that's all about, healing and divine messages. And then on Thursday is, I don't think we have a show on Thursday. I don't think we do because Maureen Mann's show, Angel Therapy, is on the fourth Thursday of every month. So that's coming up on the 28th. Oh my goodness. Yeah. We'll get all those promotions out for you guys. And so you know exactly what day things are happening on. Okay. Well, with that, you know what? Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm so glad you were with me today. Thank you for being here. And for those who'll be watching the recorded video, thank you too. And enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for the daily live stream and group card draw. All right. Bama Mina. That's Potawatomi for until we meet again. Okay. Love you guys.